Thanks for tuning in today. I know it's been a minute, but it's been fun. So, last time I sent an email out to everyone, I just told you an update. I finally hit like a really good milestone, which is really cool when you're my age, 41. Tell everyone my age now. I don't care either. Um, and I sent an email out that I recently sold a property that I had purchased for 25,000. And just like what generally happens when you invest in these working class neighborhoods, sold it for about 210,000, which is great. I like seeing the money in my bank account, but I just used it to pay my current house that I live in off because that was worth more than what my current house is worth. And I had the property for about 10 years, and I mentioned that that sort of puts me in semi-retirement. When you own your own home, it really puts you in that semi-retirement area in space. So with that being said, being semi-retired, it's been really cool because you just don't have to work as hard as you used to. You could sort of just do the minimum and that works. So I mentioned in the email that it's called Fire 2.0. Fire 2.0. It used to be FIRE, which is financial independence, retire early. And people were getting to FIRE through investments and whatnot and living off like their 4% of their investments or whatnot. And it was just a real big movement saying you don't have to wait until you're 60 or 70 and retire from a company to be financially independent. However, it did have some flaws. And so the flaws were that people would like go, I'm retired, and then they're 26 and they're like, I'm bored, or I'm 35, I'm bored. And then they'd start working anyways. But it was on their term. So the term has come out, Fire 2.0. Fire 2.0 is all about financial independence, recreational employment. And so I'm taking a bit of a leap for that. And recreational employment, so you're still employed, but you're employed doing the things. And make sure you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay, I assume you can, but let me see. Is my mic working? Can you guys let me know if it is before I continue? You should, but I just don't see that little green thing showing. Can you hear me? Hello? Okay, good. Thank you, Melba. Tell me about your property in North Carolina. Right. Oh, Melba, you're gonna be in this. You're gonna be in this space soon. Melba was one of my clients. You can look at her video on sort of her process I went through on my YouTube channel. But yeah, so Fire 2.0 is financial independence, recreational employment. Now you can do whatever you want with that. To me, I think financial independence is owning your own home, right? Because you theoretically can't get kicked out of your home. You have someplace to stay, and you really hit your major needs, right? So I think a paid off home, I don't care if you're retired at 70 or I don't care if you're 40 or 25, like having a home fully paid off is a semi-retired atmosphere because your biggest expense goes towards your housing. If your biggest expense is your housing and you pay that off, all of a sudden you have a level of financial independence that just other people do not have. So for me, in my case, I'm saying I'm semi-retired or more in the Fire 2.0, which is financially independent, recreational employment. And so when you get to recreation employment, that means you sort of do what you want to do, not what you have to do to pay a mortgage, right? So all of a sudden that headaches go off. So that's where I'm at. And so that's what I'm calling you in. So when you're sitting here and you sort of don't have to work as hard as you did, but you can, if you're entrepreneurial like all of you are, you're going to keep coming up with ideas, right? Like you're never going to stop making money. Like, do I have to be like, I'm good, but like, I'm never going to stop. Like, I like money. I like making money. I have a good work ethic. So it's natural, right? So you're never really going to stop. And so I'm coming to you with Airbnb right now and today because there's a lot of changes in the Airbnb. So I'm doing a lot of upgrades and renovations, and I wanted to tell you guys about it. Also, the best way to position it. I'm Airbnb'ing my home, right? So that is, I'm doing a couple things. One, I'm doing a shared room. I'm also doing a whole house when I go on vacation, and I'm going to go into how I'm doing the whole house when I go on vacation for you guys. So if you guys are thinking about it, if you know you're going to be gone for a month, why not make $1,000 to $1,500 a week, right? And also, while Airbnb being your own home with the current trends is the best way to go because it really gives you a lot more power. So right now an Airbnb, just a general update, is a lot of people are getting out because a lot of people bought these houses or doing arbitrage and it works. But the thing is, Airbnb grew too big and a lot of people were dissatisfied with all the fees and whatnot and they left. So all of a sudden, you have a lot of people who bought houses specifically for Airbnb and they can't Airbnb it. They're getting no bookings or they're not getting enough to pay their mortgages. It is really taking a toll. Now, this depends where you are and how saturated you are. If you're in a very exciting place and you don't have a ton of competition, it's okay. But if they're oversaturated, it is. In some places like New York, well, guess what? You can't even do it unless you live on site, like with what I'm doing. So it's really bad out there because they're losing so many people and they have an oversaturation of hosts. However, one of the best things that you can do is, if you're a business person, you should always try to make money. You can do your house. And I'd like to tell you how I'm sort of setting my house up. Now, I did Airbnb when I lived in another house in Central Virginia. I lived in Charlottesville. Hate that place. So racist. Charlottesville, Virginia is racist. Do not go there. Although I'm letting my kid go there because they have a French immersion school, but that's, there's only one French immersion school outside of DC. So I'll let her go for that for 2 years. Then we're getting her out. I don't want her getting all that energy. Hated it, but I love my Airbnb. So I had an up and downstairs house. And I had a back door that opened into the kitchen and then went downstairs. So we renovated and updated the basement and we had a contractor at a sliding door. So when they walked in, they didn't open into our kitchen. They went straight down to their basement. So they had the entire private unit to themselves. So it was like $750 for the contractor to put the sliding door and to close it. But like amazing return on investment because we were able to charge more because they had their own little 2-bedroom place, right? That they could use. And even then it was one bedroom. It was 2 bedrooms down there. But one was my ex-husband's office. So he actually locked that door and it just had the one room. So that's going to get into how you can whole house your Airbnb if you go on vacation. You can lock the doors and vet really well. So that was really cool. So that was just a slight modification we made to the home we were staying in. So we were upstairs. Yes, we're downstairs. We didn't have problems. And so a lot of problems with Airbnb is for remote people because people know you're remote and that you're not there. When you're on site, you have the most power. So I'm in a lot of Airbnb superhost groups right now, and it's crazy because these guests are getting over on the fact that you're not there, and they'll make up an excuse and ask for refunds. And when you're long distance, you're doing that. Oh, they'll throw parties at your place. There's like all these things you have to do to vet people who aren't trying to throw a party at your house, right? But the most powerful position to be in, and this is what I was in before, and this is what I am now, is to be at the home that you're Airbnbing. That is the most powerful. So I'm doing a shared room, rental unit just because there's not many in my city. And like, I live in Hampton Road. So there's, if there's like not many in your city, like you're just going to get all this business. So I went ahead and got that up and running, but there's a couple things I wanted to talk about it for all of you guys thinking about it. One, it is so good to use your home as a business because the tax deductions are okay. They're right. Your chef's kiss. I fixed up 2 rooms are shared plus the shared living room plus the shared kitchen. I'm updating and renovating all of those things, upgrades, repairs, and all of that. All of that is deductible. Mind you, this is my house. So all the money I'm pouring into my home, they are legitimate tax deductions. Right. And so there's a little bit more you have to do into getting the Airbnb in the Hampton Roads. You have to go to all the cities, are 7 cities in Hampton Roads. You have to go down to the office and get a business license. But still, not only do you get all these huge tax deductions for upgrading your home so that it presents very well like a vacation rental. Right. So that's a higher end update. You get to deduct that. That's amazing in itself, let alone the income you can make. Now, the reason I'm a big advocate of the shared room is because I'm in a lot of Airbnb Facebook groups. I'm like, okay, I'm getting back into it. Let's see what's changed after 3 years. And I'm looking at everything. And every single time that you're on the property, people don't act the same. The people who have the less problems are the people who are there and doing a shared room. And that it just seems to be that if you do a shared room, if you just have a spare bedroom, people who do it, they tend to be people like me. Like I did traveling, so I've stayed in hostels. I paid $2 a night to stay in hostels where 10 people sleep in the same room, right? There is a huge number of travelers out there who stayed in hostels. So for us, like sleeping in that shared environment and like being okay and comfortable with it isn't weird, right? And so you have a whole bunch of and Airbnb travelers. A big subsegment are the discount travelers and backpackers, right? So there's a whole slew of people, and I've done this too, who when they travel by themselves, they don't mind. I'm also so on my other channel, um, I'm doing a language immersion. I'm learning French right now, and I'm conversational. Je peux parler français, avec un accent américain, mais c'est bon, right? Like I'm learning it myself, and I'm doing all these traveling overseas. And when I go overseas, I got a couple of trips to France planned. And when I'm by myself, I'm doing a shared room so that I have someone to talk to so I can practice my French, right? So not only is it just like $25, $35 a night, which is really affordable for like long distance travel, I'll have someone I can talk to who's well vetted, who's a super host, who's really accommodating. And so I have someone to talk to, and I'm not by myself. So there's lots of people. So for all those who are saying who would use this, there's lots of us out there who are, I'm 40, right? Like when I'm 20, I stayed in $2 hostels. When I'm generally traveling now, I stay in nicer 4 or 5-star accommodations, right? However, when I'm doing this for language immersion, and FYI, if you go to like my single mom fun and travel group, I'm going to start curating like non-academic language immersion where it's like with the host family, doing your passions, going to language exchange local groups or whatever, so you don't have to do it academically. So just check that out. And so there's lots of us out there who do it because sometimes you just can't see who would do. People like me do it. We do it for specific reasons. If I go to a city that's a little just has a bit more crime, I'll do it just because they're your host and they're hosting you, the hospitality, and especially if the hosts have like 25-star reviews over the last month, right? Like they're good. I just did it when I went up to DC. The airports out of DC are a lot cheaper to go internationally. I just went to Quebec again to practice French, and it was just cheaper to go to DC. It was a round trip like $350-$400. And the night before I wanted to get up there, I stayed in a shared room because it was like $50, but but it was like 10 minutes from Dulles, whereas the nearest hotel was like 20 minutes from Dulles, and it was more expensive. So there's many different reasons you'll do a shared room, especially if you're traveling or just need to go to the airport, and a house is closer to the airport than the nearest hotel, just depending on the airport. And like I said, Dulles has some really cheap flights for international. So it's worth me going up the day before, sleeping, all for an extra, $50 or $60 after all the taxes, and then going on my flight the next morning, but not trying to leave from where I'm at 6 a.m. to get a 10 o'clock flight. That's just too much. When you get older, you're just not doing all that. You're just going to go the night before and get it. So this is the kind of people, there's business people who do it. People who are traveling for business, but not for like IBM, their own personal business. They just want to keep the cost low. They just need to put someplace safe and clean, and they don't want to spend a lot of money. Those are the people who do shared room Airbnbs. I'm in these groups about Airbnb, and they are it's a lot of horror stories for the people who are remote. And there's a lot of people who are like saying, this is my service dog, but it's not. And if it's a service dog, you're not supposed to ask them about it, right? Or charge a pet fee, but it's like people are lying about it being a service dog. Although in Virginia, we are allowed to ask to see documentation, but in other states you can't. And some people don't have service dogs. They're just saying that because they want to bring their pet friend, which I completely get that, right? So they don't have to pay for anyone to take care of it. But when you're a host and you stay there, they're not playing those games. They're not doing those things. And if there's any reports to Airbnb has been siding with the guest way too much. And the only time they don't is when the person lives there. So you also have the option of going, okay, I only want women, or I only want people who are 5-star and above. So you have a lot of different ways that you can do it where you have, you're doing it, but you're doing it to an experienced group, people who have only 5 stars, and only women if that's your comfort level. I'm okay with like a variety, but I have a lot of discernment and I read energy. So I can tell if you're a scuzz bucket or not anyways. But like, it's just like, why not make money if you can? Like a good businesswoman always makes money. don't get too good to make money. All right. Like, don't be like, "Ugh, I'm too good to do that." And I've always had that attitude that I'm never too good. And I've always been pretty well off compared to others people. I'm not saying I'm the richest. I'm just saying where I come from. I've always been like very financially stable. But I'm never too uppity to do things. Right. And so when you're able to do that and be brave and take risk and put yourself out there, like you get, the results go to you. So yeah, the thing is like, so as a host being on there, and pretty much if you have a complaint about damage, if you have to do that, if you're on site in a shared room, they're always siding with the host because you're there. The a level of authority and eminence that you have over the entire situation is a lot higher than a remote person who doesn't really know what's going on, unless that remote person has a lot of video camera evidence and whatnot. So that's what I'm doing. It's been really fun doing a lot of renovations. Some of the upgrades I did was that I have this like 1920, like I have a 1950s house and the bathrooms are like this big and they have these tiles on the wall, but the colors are like lime green and light blue and peach. Just it says 1950. And so we painted the tile white. It was just, that was like a couple $100 and it came out really well as compared to the other things. Just got new flooring. So we're doing really well with that. So that's what we're doing with that. And just the tax deductions alone to fix up your own home and the shared spaces. So I limited the renovation, the cost that I would take off of that to the shared spaces. So that's the front, the outside, the back, the entrance, the living room, kitchen, and all the spaces that'll be shared. Now there's some areas. Now let's talk about Airbnb being your whole house when you're not there. So I plan on taking extensive trips to France. I have so many goals for my kid. You guys have no clue the upward mobility of Black women if you are not paying attention. Like, people are sitting here like, oh my God, how do I get my kid in this private school and how to get them into this school? And I'm like, I'm teaching my kid who's 6 French so that she can go to a French university and come here for masters. And while she's there, she can travel in the continent. And did you guys know, because French is such a hard language, their international schools are not overran? And guess what? You can get a top tier French school for anywhere from $250 to $4,000 a year tuition. And if you get it outside of Paris in the smaller cities and towns, the room and board is like $5,000 a year, super cheap. You can literally send your kid to school and have it fully paid off, and they can be in France, learn the language, tour the continent, work while they're doing it because they know American English as well as French. So you have people sitting here like trying to like get in here, and I'm just saying, Black women like me, we don't think the way you guys do. We're like, we're going international, and your kid could literally, when they graduate, work in any multinational corporation where they need a bilingual person, and they studied in France. And I only paid $2,000 a year for a nice Western French school that has an accredited degree that would be recognized if they came back to the States for a master's, or if they went to London, me a reason to go there, right? So we're doing things. So that's the fun part. So I'm going to France a lot, right? Because I'm learning, and then when I started learning, I was like, let me come teach my daughter, which is great because the accent can be very challenging, and when you're a kid, they just pick it up. So I'm giving her like all these language things. But needless to say, I'm going to be going to France a lot this year for my own practice, right? And I'm doing non-academic language immersion. Non-academic meaning I'm not going to a school. However, I'm still going to learn, just like when I went to Quebec. So I do, and that's the travel planning I'm going to do for people who want help on my other single mom fun and travel thing. Because sometimes you don't want to do an academic school, but you have passions in this, and there's things like language exchanges and clubs and activities, or maybe you do I do karaoke, or maybe you do something where you're like a rugby player, but like where we match you up based on your talents and stuff with community things that you'd be able to join. So it's things that you like to do already, but you're meeting a community. So, people will accept you because you have something in common, but you still get to practice, but it's not like, and you have to practice. Like you got to study. If, for me, I studied with my tutors, like karaoke, right? Like, and so we talked about the different things you talk about in karaoke, song selections, what's your favorite songs, which songs do you do, what's your range and whatnot. So we practice that, right? So it's just non-academic language immersion. I'm doing a lot of that. So I'm not going to miss out on the opportunity to rent my whole house out. But I want to tell you guys how you can rent your whole house if you're going on vacation. So there's 2 things you got to do. First, you got to declutter. I have hired an organizer, and she's come every single week. I got off TaskRabbit. Love TaskRabbit. If you have an organizer in an area, I highly recommend. And so in each room, we basically got rid of half the stuff And it's also cool because I've been selling it on Facebook Marketplace, which is cool because I'm cheaper than Goodwill because Goodwill raised their prices and I hate Goodwill right now because they're greedy. The amount of stuff I've given them over all these years and they want to charge $40 for a vase. I am mad. So I'm happy that like when I sell on Facebook Marketplace, I'm cheaper than Goodwill. And I'm like, oh, I literally made like 800 bucks like over the last 4 weeks off of like random stuff. People are like, oh, I just need that little piece of green for my dog. So that's perfect, $5. Whereas if they went to the store, they'd be paying $30. They like paying me $5 for a little scrap because that's perfectly all they need for like their dog house. So it really works out, especially with inflation, for people to have Facebook Marketplace, which I think is better than Craigslist because it just has some level of accountability because it's not so anonymous. And that's really been working out. So to do it, I would recommend getting an organizer or you doing it yourself and getting rid of a lot of stuff. I say go ahead and sell it on Facebook Marketplace because it's a good service to the community. Goodwill is tripping and they're overpricing their stuff. So I don't like them. And I'm highly discouraging people from doing that because the amount of donations, I've literally delivered house full of items to them. And they're selling these things at exorbitant prices. And I was like, this is all free. Okay. It's all free. Okay. Like you are being ridiculous. And so that's cool. So what we're doing is downsizing each of these areas. Now, for the areas that are going to be closed, one is this. This is my office that connects to the room, and it has like a sliding door, but the sliding door is not secure. Next Tuesday, I'm getting this door installed, and I have a door installed in the hallway outside the kitchen. So with those two doors, and about I paid about $250 for the doors. I got them off Facebook Marketplace. Otherwise, I would have paid double. And $500 to fix it. So about $800, I shut that off. Also, for all of the bedrooms that won't be open, I got locks on the door. So of course, anything can happen. But this is the funny part about me. If you came in my house, there'd be nothing for you to steal. Like honestly, what, you gonna steal my TV I got from Goodwill or Deseret Industry or the thrift store for $30? I'm serious. And then the valuable stuff I do have, people don't know it's valuable. Like you don't know what a miner is. You know what a crypto miner is. It's quiet. It's just a black thing. Like you don't even know what that is. You're not even gonna take it. You're gonna think it's bull. So like I'm not like, oh my God, they might steal my stuff. Like I don't have anything to like my money is in like bank accounts. You know what I mean? My jewelry, I don't have that much jewelry where like if like, oh my God. Now I'm gonna take pictures of everything. So I like every month I'm going for like 2 weeks because I can work remotely. And because I have that lead time, I'm gonna take pictures of everything and upload it to a folder. You know, before I left, this is what it was. And I actually asked a friend. So there's two parts. So I locked all the doors. So my doors didn't have locks. So I went to a local lock shop and I took the keys and I rekeyed it so that all of the doors have locks. So they simply can't get into it. I have screens to block things off and put private entrance only. And I've been in Airbnbs where people blocked it off, or we had an Airbnb where we blocked it off. So like that's a thing. And people are like, okay, I just have the one bedroom. People are chill with that. It's not a weird thing. And so we've been decluttering because that'll help. And so for my kitchen, I use my stuff, but I don't want them using my stuff because I don't want them breaking it. And I just don't want them eating up my stuff unless I'm there to clean it. I have a rolling kitchen cart that I just bought. And all of my stuff that I use day to day is on that. The stuff that I don't want, I wheel out and then I sort of lock all of the cabinets. So that's how we're doing whole house. And then I have a box of their stuff that I bring out with their dishes, pots, and pans, but it never touch it. It goes out and it goes on the countertops, and boom, all the other countertops are closed. So that's how my stuff stays private. You can put like little signs, private owner use only, and that's how you can do a whole house. The difference between a shared room is like anywhere from $50 to $75 a night. A whole house is $125 to $250. It's very significant. And if I'm leaving for 2 weeks, yeah, I want to make about an extra $2,000 while I was gone. Now, managing it. So there's a couple things you could do. I talked to some people around. So I'm a mom, so all my friends are moms. So a lot of them are stay-at-home moms because I go to private school. When you go to private school, everyone's a stay-at-home mom. Seriously, not joking. So stay-at-home moms are great to do business with. So I talked to some other stay-at-home moms. I'm like, hey, when I'm gone, Airbnb has this co-hosting thing. I offer you 10%. I can handle all this remotely. If something breaks down, I can do target ships to get something delivered, like say a TV or a remote or any batteries. I get that shipped to them. With Target shipped, $100 a year, 2 hours, they're going to get their stuff, right? So like you don't have to be there if something breaks. You can always order it. Also, you can just have a little area where it's like if they need extra toilet papers or towels or sponges, they can get it. And I am on a live video. And so that's what they can do. So there's all these different things you can do to manage it remote. But even though I can do all those things to manage remote, if something breaks, you need handyman. And if, like, say that they don't leave on time, right? Like, you want someone there. And there's a difference between telling someone, like, them not knowing if you're there or not, and another thing with going, hey, this is the co-host Deb. She's going to take all your calls, and you're going to take texting her. And uh, I was just saying that you're going to be texting her. She's 5 minutes away if you need anything. People don't act the same when you're 5 minutes away. That's why doing a shared rental is so powerful. Not only do you get the benefit of that on Airbnb and pretty much all your claims answered where other people don't necessarily because they're not always siding with them, but also with your guests, like having a co-host who's like right nearby, they're just not going to act the same. They're just not, you know? So if something happens, you're going to send them over. If I get a complaint, she's going to come over. This isn't that thing. So that's really cool. So, and that's, you can pay them whatever percentage you want. Because I'll be doing the majority of stuff because I can remotely, I'll be doing that. But she gets 10%. But she's like, yeah, I'm a stay-at-home mom, 10%, and I can be there and I can help you out. Yeah, that's great. And I said, like, you can go through Airbnb and it's automated. I'm not giving you the money. Airbnb pays it out at the same time. So there's all these different things. So not only did I get the 2 doors installed so that it really blocks it off, and I locked all the other doors. And then I have a rolling cart with my stuff that I use every day that I can just roll out, put it in my office so it'll be locked. And I have a door where it has a remote lock and a remote camera, so I know who comes. I have them video record it, so I know what's going on, and I can talk to them through the video and through the app. Doesn't matter where I'm at in the air world. So a relatively secure way of traveling and Airbnbing your whole house and getting that $125 to $250 a night. And I'm like, why not get paid to travel, right? Like, y'all crazy? I don't care how much money you have. I know people, I've been watching people on Airbnb, and I've seen these articles on NBC, and these people have like RVs or tents. Their houses are really nice. They're like $1 million homes, and like they can make $15,000 a month. So they will go for 3 weeks. They'll live in their RV or tent or go live with their parents, Airbnb their whole house, right? And yeah, or this one chick, she made a tiny house in her backyard in Georgia. I just read about her. It was a Black woman. I thought it was really cool. And she can rent out the tiny house or her whole house, but she makes more money in her whole house. So she just lives in her tiny house, and she thought it was just a really cool project to do it, right? She just really liked the project and the creation and decorating because these are fun things to do. But now she can live in it, right? And it's completely functional and rent it out. So she keeps both listings open, and depending, she just sort of moves back and forth. But she makes more money with the whole house rental, and she just does it in the back. And I was just like, oh, that's so brilliant. So me going, and I'll be, going at least a couple months total, 2 weeks here, 2 weeks here, 2 weeks here, 2 weeks here. And I already know my dates because I already got my tickets. So it'll just be a really cool way, so that's the Airbnb. So, smart business people, it doesn't matter if you're semi-retired or not, like bring this money in. I want to talk about Airbnb and the different ways to do it. That gives you not only tax deductions, but like more control and power and say so and authority on having the final say, but also if you're traveling, ways for you to make a little extra money. And it took me some time to figure out how to do whole house Airbnb, but I finally did it. The investment were in the doors, and the investment were in the locks, and the investment was in like a rolling cart where I could easily roll it out and then roll in like the guest stuff and lock my cabinets, right? So, not that they're going to do anything, but just you don't want to give people temptation. And then they have everything they need, right? And the only other thing I did was that I had an extra refrigerator that I'm going to bring into the kitchen so that that's always empty. So they can use that, and I don't have to clear my refrigerator out. There's actually refrigerator locks for me as well. So I got a whole bunch of combination locks off of eBay. So I just set them all to the same combination to make things easy. And that's it. So I hope this was informative. Someone said, I have Airbnb by bedroom in my apartment. I'm afraid to do long-term. Any suggestions? I have Airbnb in my bedroom. Yeah. Any suggestions? It's so much nicer if it's your house because like the tax deductions are for like your house you're fixing up and that you're going to keep, right? So it's just a beautiful 2-for-1, right? In the situation. I'm afraid to do long-term. I can see why, because then you're stuck with them. Some things you can do when you're just getting started. Yeah. Okay. Some things you can do is, so for my home, they have a private bathroom. So my house has like 4 bathrooms. That's how I buy it. It's ridiculous, but actually not. I'll tell you guys why the fourth one isn't that ridiculous like it was, because I'm fixing that one because I had a subfloor problem. And so I have a bathroom and masters, have another bathroom in a guest room, but for their room that's off the sunrooms, this all window unit, um, they they have their own private bathroom, but they have to sort of walk through my dining room to get to it. And so what I did was install curtains so they can't see into the living room. And I also start like there's these privacy screens that I had. They're like tall. They're like you see them in offices, but they're like $60. They were talking about two. I have a privacy screen that leads them there. So they're completely private. So when they're going, they have their own private path to the room. That just depends. I've stayed in an Airbnb like the one I stayed in December, the shared room. You went into a hall and the hall was open. It was in a basement, and there were 2 bedrooms in a basement and a bathroom. If I go into the hall, I could have saw whoever was there, but no one lives there except other Airbnb guests. So it wouldn't have been that awkward to like go across the hall. And the hall was like 3 feet to the bathroom to do it. So it's just whatever it is. People who are doing shared houses know they're doing shared houses. Like I said, we're like the hostel travel. We're millions, okay? We're not like one small, no, millions, right? We know sort of how to do it. So I just did the extra privacy because I know that could just really be helpful. But you know, they'll know whatever. So just take the pictures of it. And you could also, after you get like the first few, like for right now, I have it a little lower to get my first few reviews. I am comfortable with this. I have a lot of discernment. Me and my ex-husband were always able to talk to people over line and be like, nah, something's wrong. You couldn't answer my question right. You're just off. I could tell. And we always were able to avoid. We only have one slightly wrong person, and that's just because his dog pooped and he didn't clean it up. Like we were gonna clean it up, like you dumb. Um, but that was like just slightly, right? That's not even the worst. So I'm very comfortable. However, if you're not as comfortable, you can do it where it's like only women. That does make people feel more secure. You can do only 5-star guests. You can only do people who have a proven track record and great response. And I ask questions before you come stay because it's shared room. How do they answer the questions? Some people are like, why are you asking me all these questions? And I'm like, okay, you don't get it. Like, if you don't get that, if you're going to share a room with someone, that like you should be very forthright and forthcoming. You obviously don't have the capacity to stay here with me, right? Get a hotel. So, you know, you can just really pick up about people if you really pay attention to how they're acting and their energy. They'll let you know, like, oh no, I'm coming because, you know, I'm going to da 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 or this school or college. I'm coming with my wife and more than happy, da 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 da. You can tell. So I would just say be very discerning. If you want, only go with well vetted, high, like maybe you can go, you have to have at least 10-star reviews or else I'm not taking you, right? Make sure it's very light and well lit. You need to pay a little bit of, okay, if you want to stand out right now in a saturated market, you need to go a little extra. When we did it, we were like soft bribing people. You got like a cupcake from the best cupcake place, a glass of wine. We gave you food and drinks. It was smelling good. We had our Glade plugins in. So it was just like this beautiful thing we offered you. And so now I've taken it up a next level. Like, oh, did you forget anything? So I have like a thing where it's like you have mousse, hairspray, gel, this, that, da 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 da. Did you forget your soap? We got free soap, da 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 da. I'm from Las Vegas. I don't know if you know, but we're one of the most hospitable cities in the whole world. In my genes and genetics is being hospitable, right? And being service oriented. That is in my blood. When you're born in New York, you know what's in your blood? Walking everywhere. Because people can walk all day, right? And so being from Vegas, like I'm extra service oriented because that's just what we are. So, like, you know, so I'm going to offer you a lot. You're not even going to expect half the stuff you're going to get, but you're going to get free this and free that. And they're going to be small things, toiletries that, you know, I can use a few times. But that makes a big difference because if someone walks in your house and they feel well catered to, even if something goes wrong, because you did so much, like you spent $5 or $6 on a cupcake and a piece of or some wine or whatever, and you had it there and it was a surprise and a handwritten letter saying thank you for coming. Little things like that, that extra 10-15 minutes of effort is so good for that. Even if something goes wrong, they're willing to deal with you because they know you care, right? It shines that you care. So if you do that, you're going to stand out and people will come back. And another trick you can do is like offer anyone who stays, if they give you their email, they get 15 or 20% off the next day they come, you know, and they can use the code whenever they want, right? So you could do little things like that. And all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I'll come back. This is great. They treat me so well, right? Another thing you can do is like only super well vetted people, at least 10 reviews. If not, I'm not going to take you. Another thing to stand out, you got to spend some money on making your room look nice. If that's not your thing, study Pinterest like I do. Come up with a look and scheme that's very classic and nice and or whatever it wanted to be, but cohesive to whatever that design is, because your pictures really need to stand out. And Airbnb, and I think it's because there's not a lot of rentals where I'm at in Hampton Roads, they sent a photographer, and I think they do that. It's like, we need to get more people in the city. There's no one in the city and everyone wants to stay here, but they're staying in all these other places and suburbs, right? So if it's like, if not, go ahead and pay for a professional photographer, because the person they sent, she did so much better than I did. Like, I did it on my phone so much better. So I told her, so she's going to come when I'm finished with my whole house and take pictures, because she's so much better. And she's also going to come. I'm also going to put a glamping tent backyard, and I'm going to offer all these service like luxury picnics and private chefs. I don't know. I've been watching Below Deck, and so I don't know. I don't have enough money to go on a super yacht, so I guess I'm just bringing it to other people. But you can do little things like that. And the fourth bathroom that I wasn't using is actually cool for that, because if they stay in the tent, they can come and use that bathroom, which has its own door. And because I put the door, I told you, in the hallway outside the kitchen, it's private, so they're not going to see anything or have access to anything. Everything has locks, because I did that already. I invested in locks on every single door, so they're closed off. So that is what you can do to rent your extra apartment. And if you do those extra efforts and show that you care, people respond to that. They can see, it just makes things really, really good. And you can also vet really well. Do you have a blueprint for this STR model? I mean, you just the video and you ask me questions. I haven't written it down. You know what? I am editing my second book, and I started writing about Airbnb because I'm talking about long distance investing. And so all the stuff you're doing with long distance investing at Airbnb, right? All the things I'm telling you. And so I'm actually like, but this book isn't about Airbnb. So I'm actually taking those parts out. I'm going to make another book, and I'm going to talk specifically about Airbnb your whole house, the benefits of it as opposed to others, and Airbnb your house while you go on vacation. So yes, but do not wait on that. Just ask me questions when I come live. That'll be the best before I get to do this. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're going away too. Yeah. Especially if you know. So they dropped all COVID requirements everywhere. So all the people who got the stuff because they wanted to travel, you just had to wait 1 year. They dropped everything. They threw it all away. There is no requirements. There is no nothing. Just get your insurance. So I was like, I'm going, and I can work remote because the kind of business, I'm traveling. I can work on my books. I can work on this. And I can do a lot of stuff remotely. And with the time difference, it actually works out, because I can do stuff in the morning or night. And like I said, I'm learning French too, which I really appreciate. It's a very beautiful language. So I'm really working on the accent. And so, if every month for 2 weeks, like, just do it now. Me decluttering and getting an organizer, you can do it yourself, but sometimes it's just easier when you have someone with you to get rid of stuff, because they'll tell you all the reasons you don't need it. And sometimes you need to hear that if you're holding on to it. So it's sort of emotional, but like, I highly recommend. But then what it is like, it's easier to keep my place clean now. And the money I'm making on Airbnb Marketplace, I made $5 today, $10 the other day, $75 the day before. Like some old motorboat thing I have, camping equipment. The funny thing is, the organizer, because I have so much stuff from like 4 moves, she's like, you want to have a yard sale? I was like, will you help me? She's like, yeah. So I'm having a yard sale when I get back from Quebec. Taking my daughter there and doing all these kids stuff so she can talk to other kids and want to learn French at an even more pace. But yeah, I'm doing that. So, the more you have out your house, the easier it is to do the whole house without being cluttered. And like I said, make it so that like you can put things in a locked room that you don't want available to everyone and lock the other places. Like an apartment, you can't do that as much, but your house, you can put doors where maybe there wasn't any doors. But like I said, that's having benefits for me to have multiple like Airbnb listings with my home, and it's independent, right? Because they're closed off. Just like when I had my house and the back door led to the kitchen and downstairs to the basement, all I put is $750. I put that sliding door so I can close it and lock it. And then all of a sudden, at a private place, and it was just a beautiful thing for Airbnb. So I've always done Airbnb with my own home just by being creative. And so you guys can too. And like I said, I love the fact that all these upgrades I'm doing and updates for Airbnb are tax deductible. And even if like I close shop with my Airbnb next year because I don't want to do it, I got to deduct all these things from your house. Like, come on, like, where are you guys? Like, oh, right? And these are completely legitimate. And you have to, of course, mark them off the way they need to be, capital expenses versus repairs or whatnot. There is a difference, but still, like, all the bedding and the decor, all are, deductible. And then, like I said, if you stop doing it, you invested in an asset, your house, right? And, you're good to go. So, yeah, I hope this was informative. Any last questions before I head on out? I gotta go pick up my beautiful baby from school. I'm gonna put links to the other one if you're interested in my travel and upwardly mobile Black women and the things that we're doing because we're smart and creative and we don't think the way other people do. And funny enough, with the French, I have my daughter cars polls with the professor, which is really cool. But I found out when I started speaking French that they spoke it too, but they're rusty. So I speak to them in the morning because I'm practicing and I'm pretty diligent every day, at least listening or speaking or doing something. So it's really improving at a quick pace. But I just convinced them with their kids to start them learning French, and which is great because like today I'm gonna make like I do every couple weeks I do like a French, like I made French chicken wings, which is really cool. They use like onion roux and like French dressing. It was tasty though. I liked it. It was real good. But today it's a brie puff pastry, which I'm actually going to prepare now. Go pick up my daughter so it's ready when she gets here. So we just do all these different French things. But yeah, I finally convinced them, and I was like, hey, these are all the apps I'm using, labeled like Babbel versus Rosetta and da 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 da. So if you want to and you want to learn about language learning, like my idea is, depending on how things go, now they want to do it too, which is cool because they already speak it. And I'm like, well, we can do it all together because then the kids are more motivated because we're speaking it. And then you guys can have your Google Translate and you guys can do it too. And I can give you my resources. So it's good that they were like, yeah, we always try, but we get about 10 minutes in and we forget how to say things. I was like, that's why you need Google Translate. But it's cool that like we're creating, to start creating a community of others who are doing it. I did choose French strategically. And I talk about this on the other channel. It's a very class elevating language for an American. It's one thing for you to be like from, Cameroon or Morocco. Yeah, they speak the language, but as an American who does it, it really elevates you and people just start wondering who you are. And then if you really start understanding the culture and the level of fluency, it's really good. Now, me, like I told you, I'm thinking of college for my child. So she can travel all over Europe while going to school. And she knows the language and paid $2,000 for tuition for a really reputable Western school where their degrees are recognized here if she wants to go for higher learning or education. Of course, I'll make her modify some things so that she's learning English, but I'm also going to teach her how to like start her own business. Like she's going to college, but like I'm also, when I do my yard sale, I'm going to be like, do you want to do a lemonade stand? Is to have a bake sale and keep the money. So I'm already getting my daughter geared up for like, oh, you could sell, you can put work into something and sell and service and da 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 da. So I'm already like gearing her for that. So the university is like an experience though. Like I still want her to have, even if she doesn't go into corporate America and she does her own business. I am training and grooming my daughter to be able to do her own business. She's learning from me. She understands the concepts. I'm getting her started in making money early, like of her own effort. She's with me when I'm selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace or this and that. When I'm buying something and reflipping it, like she's already getting immersed in that world and understanding that's a way to make money. But the university is important. And so, like I said, there's lots of reasons. My idea, hopefully, is every 4 years we choose a language. So first, we're doing French. She wants to learn and then Spanish. Then she wants to learn Japanese and Chinese. Personally, Chinese will serve her better, but there's a lot of companies. But if we spend 4 years doing that as she's going and she gets better and better at learning languages and she likes it, it gives me a reason to go to Japan, right? It gives me a reason to go to Spain and Mexico with her. Right? Like it just gives me a reason to travel for the summer. So I love it. Also, if you blog about it, but I know what it means to be multilingual. And for an American kid to come out with 2 or 3 languages and she spent time in those cultures, and in high school, she maybe spent a year over there in an exchange, right? It just prepares you to be able to work for these companies. Like I remember when I worked for IBM, I was going to Quebec and I went to Mexico because I spoke Spanish, right? So you can work for these big firms, multinational firms and corporate firms and be a value added asset. Not like I speak a little, but like, no, I speak conversationally and business French and I can brush up on what I don't know. to have your kid at 18 or 19 because you had fun traveling and learning with them, right? Because I do this like we're both learning, right? Just because it just makes it better, you know what I mean, for both of us if we're both learning. But to have your kid and groom them, and I said groom, not in the crazy way, but like in the like, when someone's groomed for a position of greatness, that's what I'm grooming my child for, you know. It really will make them just so much more powerful and get so much more advanced than everyone else. And that's what I'm saying. Like these parents here in the States are like sitting here playing for peanuts. And I'm like, I'm like upwardly mobile Black mamas. We are preparing our kids for like the global stage, like the UN, the world stage. Like we are not playing, we are not having fun, and it's going to be more affordable, and she's going to be ready like those Europeans are ready. But the thing is, as an American, when you're American and you know those things, it is more valuable because you can speak to American culture so much more smoothly. So you can work for these luxury companies that interface, that have like a branch in America, and you're the chosen person because even though you know French, but you also know Americans, and sometimes the French in there, they're gone on vacation and they're really critical, and like, sometimes they just clash, right? Like French people are really, like, even my tutors are real arrogant. Like they're really arrogant, and that shit gets on Americans' nerves like no other. And we can be really classless, so we get on their nerves because we're just like overtaking and stepping over boundaries in class that we're not supposed to do it. And I'm seeing it like real time. But if you have a person who knows how to go in and out so that they can be the spokesperson, they can do it with this fluency and fluidity and social understanding. So it's not just the language, it's the social norms. As an American, you know those languages and you go overseas, you're so valuable because we spend a lot of money and we travel a lot. And having an American accent talking to us who can then flawlessly go into French is amazing versus a British accent, whatnot. We appreciate that so much, and we're so much money. So like I said, I'm preparing my daughter for the stars like fire. So if you guys want to come join the ride, please join me there. And like I said, I'm going to start doing, I'm doing it for myself, but like I'm doing these things where it's like I'm doing language immersion, but non-academically, but like I'm going to offer it for others who want me to plan it for them, and like with a host stay and whatnot, so they get the full. I just, people just start thinking, they think it has to be a certain way, but it can be affordable and inexpensive, and it can be, I prefer it. It's based around your passion. So if you like needle pointing, we make sure we go to France, but you find the places that do the best with needle points so that you can have a conversation. So you can very specifically brush up on those skills and your habits and things that you like, so you can join a community and actually make friends, right? Doing the things, sharing a passion. So that's what we're doing. How was this? Was this a good talk? Let me know if you guys like this one. Before I get out of here, I got to prepare that puff pastry. It's really easy. So you take a brie. Okay, so you freeze a piece of brie, and you get a frozen pastry sheet, right? And I did this last week, but I didn't have the cranberries, and it wasn't as sweet as I wanted to. So I had the cranberries and the figs that I'm gonna put in. So on top of the brie, just rind and all, you put jam, and you put walnuts or they did almonds, but I like walnuts. And you can do figs and cranberry or dates, like a sweet thing. And then you put the puff pastry over it, so it'll puff up with a nice little flaky crust. And then you just dip your serving into it, and it's like a nice little treat. So it's super easy to do. So I did it for my daughter. They had International Day, so I did it for them and the French chicken wings. All right, I didn't get any comments. I'm going to assume you liked it because you're still here. How'd you guys like it? Are you still there? I see you. It tells me how many people are watching. Oh, well, I guess you guys are shy. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. Talk to you. Oh, thank you for the thumbs up. How beautiful. Why are you so shy? Oh, okay. All right, guys. So that's just an overview of financial independence, Fire 2.0, Airbnb your home. Thank you, Melba. Yeah, like, Melba, like, we work together. She bought a rental property, but like, there's no reason, Melba, you can't also make money with your home and a rental. Because I remember when I had 3 rental properties, and then I had my Airbnb at my house, I was making $4,000 a month in income. So when I lost my job, I was like, it's okay, because of the rental properties plus the Airbnb in your own home. And it's just because we're making like 1,500 to 3,000 a month on our own home, let alone for the rentals, and we use that money for different stuff. But yeah, there's no reason why you can make it in different ways. And I am very hospitable. I like people. I like traveling. I like talking to travelers. So it's also really good if you have that as well. If you're very hospitable. So Airbnb in your home works if you are very gracious and accommodating and service oriented, which I've always been, making people really feel good, letting them know that you're here to serve them, right? Like I'm a queen, don't get me wrong, but I'm here to serve. Like I can be a queen and do both, right? So if you have that, this is excellent. All of the people who I asked to be co-hosts, because I have like a list of them just in case they don't work out, they're all very hospitable people. That's the biggest thing. Like I said, I'm from Vegas, so if there's nothing else I know is how to be hospitable, and I so love that. All right, I hope this was enjoyable. You guys take care and join me on my single mom fun and travels. I'm gonna start doing all my videos there, like starting in the next couple days. All right, bye. And that will be language learning, language traveling, language immersion, different techniques, things I've used, and reviews on all the different language tools I've used, and how to do it affordably, super affordably. I like deals. All right, bye guys.